Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Hope you're having a great week. I just got back from seeing the 355 in the theater, and I wanted to share my thoughts and review with you. So with that, we'll dive on in. And to begin, we'll start with a synopsis. When a top secret weapon falls into mercenary hands, a wildcard CIA agent joins forces with three international agents on a lethal mission to retrieve it, while staying a step ahead of a mysterious woman who's tracking their every move. Just some other info on the movie. The 355 is directed by Simon Kinberg, written by Teresa Rebeck and Simon Kinberg, and it stars the likes of Jessica Chastain, Penelope Cruz, Fan Bingbing, Diane Kruger, Lupita Nyong'o, Sebastian Stan, and Edgar Ramirez. All right. So, and just a bit of background from, yeah, at least like my anticipation level going into this movie. I had seen a few trailers, maybe at least, I think it was just maybe one trailer that I had seen, but I've seen it a few times at movies in the last few months leading up to this. So I was aware of the movie, interested enough to go see it, but unfortunately wasn't able to get around to seeing it last weekend for opening weekend, and thus that's why it's a little late here on the review. But yeah, I would say I was kind of mid level looking forward to it. You don't get all that many action spy movies, so I was interested to check it out. All right, so with that, we will dive into next just kind of my general thoughts, and the way I'll break it down is we'll go over like story, production design, acting, action, cinematography, sound, and music. And then I'll conclude with just kind of my final thoughts and the overall rating of the movie. So starting off looking at the story, I thought the story was pretty straightforward. Wasn't bad, wasn't great. For this type of movie, being an action spy movie, I thought that it's the sort of thing we've seen before. So like I mean, if this was your first time seeing a movie of this type, I think it would be significantly more enjoyable. So I don't know that that necessarily takes away from the movie, but yeah, it was a you had parts of the story that were left for you to kind of figure out, and they would unfold as you continued watching. Parts of that I was able to guess kind of where it was going. Other parts left me guessing until they told me. So a little bit of both there. For this type of movie, it actually did get me close towards the beginning. There's this one scene where you've got a bunch of, I mean, this is basically first scene, so maybe mild spoilers, but not really though. So you have like a bunch of like army guys, and a lot of them have either like their face completely in the open or just kind of partial mask, but all of them are obviously dudes. And then you have one character who's in like full ski mask. You can't see any part of their face. And I was convinced, as is the trope with these sort of movies, when you have a character like that, then they're clearly going to be like a woman. But it was nice to get a change of pace on that front, where when you actually do see who the character is, it in fact isn't a woman. Um, so yeah, overall story was fine. I thought pacing was pretty good overall. I didn't really feel it slow down or drag at any points. Maybe just barely between acts two and three, but that's pretty much the case with almost any movie. Otherwise, I thought the characters were, again, they were fine. It's yeah, nothing to write home about, but interesting enough. But no like characters of the year here, in my opinion. So yeah, that kind of covers my thoughts on the story. Next, we'll go on to the production design. So for a spy movie, I thought it was is pretty, again, straightforward. It's not anything we haven't seen before, but that being said, I thought it was well done. A lot of the kind of environments that we find the story taking place in were fun to go to, and interesting to see the characters kind of move through. So it was, yeah, a variety of costumes, especially for some of the characters as they're changing and going undercover. So I thought those were well done. And it was nice to see a lot of various parts of the world. It does take place across the globe, so it was nice. I'm not sure if it was actually filmed on location for every place that the story was supposed to be taking place in, but on screen it looked good, I thought. So, one note, kind of along that front and taking places in different parts of the world. One thing I did appreciate in the screenplay is actually using the languages from those regions in scenes where it makes sense. So if you have two friends talking to each other, they're speaking German. They're not speaking in English with a German accent. But you do have most of the movie that is in English, because a lot of the, when you have characters from different countries, then they need to communicate. That's the language that they tend to go with in this movie. So, but I do appreciate them sticking with the other languages. So if having to read subtitles to get certain plot points is hard for you to enjoy, maybe that would take away from the movie a little bit. But I thought it enhanced the movie. Next, we'll move on to the acting. So I thought across the board the acting was good. I didn't think any of the characters or none of the characters are all that demanding of the actors. But that said, they all did a good job with what they had to do, and yeah, without going into details on like the plot itself, then I thought that yeah, certain characters had to do a little bit more than others, but they all came and brought their A game for the type of movie that this is. Next, as far as the action goes, I would say here again, it's kind of par for the course for this sort of movie. Nothing blew me away, um, especially since it's a lot of shaky cam is the style that they decided to go with. Now it's, in my opinion, it wasn't like over the top shaky cam. Like if you're going shaky cam, I thought it was done well, or as well as you could for shaky cam, but at this point, when we have the likes of John Wick setting the bar for your action standard, it would have been nice to get some longer takes instead of a lot of that shaky cam and quick cuts. So that kind of it makes it feel a little bit more actiony in some sense, but then you're also not really able to actually absorb all of the action that's there if it's cutting away. So. But yeah, like I said, I think it's shaky cam done as well as it could. Next for cinematography, I thought it was well done. There was maybe two shots that I can think of that were like, oh, this is a good shot. But otherwise, I would say this is pretty standard. I thought the look of the film was appropriate. It was, I'd say, very clean. I think there were a lot of as far as like the color palette goes, like I think it could have had a lot of colors that popped. There's several scenes with greens and it's outside, but they took it as like a little bit muted on the color palette, not terribly much, but just a little bit, where it kind of gave more of like a realistic sort of color palette or color tone. And I think clean is the word I would go with there. um, so overall, though, I thought it looked good. I thought the special effects were solid. Nothing impressive, but I didn't notice any. There weren't any shots where I was like, man, that looks bad. So well done there. The sound there again, I thought that was well done overall. You had a lot of. I was able to see this in Dolby Atmos, so you had a lot of system there. Definitely enhanced the movie with all the action and everything going on around you. So I thought that was the sound design was well done. And then lastly, for the music, that's kind of the last piece of the movie. Actually, for that's one piece that I especially look forward to in new movies is how good is the soundtrack going to be. I thought this was so the music's composed by Tom Holkenborg. He's done several other soundtracks that I've really liked. This one didn't come across as terribly thematic, at least not while watching the movie. I did enjoy it enough, certainly, where I'm gonna listen to the soundtrack by itself in the upcoming days, and it may come across as more thematic then. But but it doesn't need to be. It's an action movie. I thought it was done very well, and it enhanced the movie. Um, and there's a lot of drums, a lot of upbeat music during all the chases and stuff like that. So, well done on the score. I thought it was good overall. So, final thoughts, as you can kind of, as I'm piecing, all of these components of, what makes a movie together. Nothing stood out to me as like, oh, this is a great movie. They're doing something completely new here. Um, I mean, you don't see too many spy action movies that you've got, a bunch of female leads. So I thought that was done well. It didn't hit you over the head with feminism constantly throughout the movie, but I think it achieved the message that it was going for. So I thought that part was well done. But otherwise, as a spy action movie, I thought it was good. Um, Worth the watch. I don't think it's as bad as I was kind of expecting going into the movie, given the reviews and like the opening box office that it had last weekend. So overall, it's a good movie. It's not something that we haven't seen before, but just because you've seen it before doesn't mean that it's not going to be a fun watch. So. Um, you're looking for something to watch, I think it's good. Of course, we do have a lot of stuff that's been out at least since the end of December, but start of January is kind of slow. So uh, yeah, it was a good movie overall. That's where I'd put it. It's kind of on the lower end of good in my book. So for to give it an overall rating, the way I kind of categorize movies or rate movies, I've got four categories. There's great, good, meh, and bad. So this one I think is on the lower end of good, but it didn't quite make it into the meh category. Um, there's not a ton to talk about, but I enjoyed it. I think from that's my subjective entertainment value. I would put it in the good category, and I think it falls about the same in the if I were to give it like an objective, how good of a movie is it? Kind of my personal enjoyment of it aside. Probably, I mean, I'd say it's about average, so I think it's on the lower side of good. I think hovering in that good to meh. All right, that does it for my review for the 355. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and as well as subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss my next review. But with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.